Hey guys, welcome to Face to Face Gaming Podcast number 7. I'm Thompson.
I am Alex.
And special guest,
Berkley. Hey.
Sweet. So, Berkley, you've been developing games and doing stuff, and you're a friend of ours, and yeah.
How do we know you? Or how does he know you? I don't actually know you.
Friends and family.
Excellent.
Yeah, you could say that. I like Alex. I know Alex, and I've only just met, but I'm beginning to like and know this Alex as well.
Yeah,
I'm kind of good shit.
self-promotion much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how this Alex got me into this. He said, other Alex is good shit, so you should come.
Exactly.
And I did.
That's pretty much how the conversation went. Yep. You should be on our podcast. Okay. It was a great 30 seconds.
A hard sell, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, do you want to get into what we're playing first?
Sure. Let's clear that off.
Get that out of the way?
Yep.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. The first game, well, I pretty much only got 2 games other than the ones that I've already covered in previous podcasts, being, Payday 2 and all that. But the first one was Knights of Pen and Paper +1 on PC, and it's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily say it's good, but it's got a lot of that mobile flavor. It's really meant for a touchscreen.
I like the aesthetic, and I like the idea.
Yes.
And I like thinking... I like the theme. It's like, okay, I'm in a fantasy world, but I'm role-playing that I'm in a fantasy world, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. And the execution, for the most part, is good enough. I mean, like, the art is very good, the music's good, it really sets the tone, but then you get into the grind, and it...
Which is the game.
Yeah.
Like, it is a grind. I played it for a little while and said, okay, I'll explore combat. I know I can get another party member and get some synergy between the classes. But then before too long, it was like, okay, I'm just tapping through battles.
Yeah.
And then it would say, okay, well, in order to get this thing, you have to tap through 10 more battles. It's like, well, I'm not even thinking anymore. I'm just tapping the screen.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, there is a bit of strategy involved.
Well, sure.
Particularly if you set it for yourself. Because with that game, you've got to actually select how many bad guys you're playing against at once. So you select the difficulty. So that's a little bit of a good thing. You can make it as hard as you want and actually have to worry about who you're making weak, who you're healing, where the damage is going. But once again, for the most part, you're tapping at a screen.
And once you figure that out, it's like, what can my party handle? Then that's what you do.
Yeah, and that's what you always do.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want to do without dying, right? Are we quiet?
No, you're good.
Okay. So I'm using it more as a thing to do when I'm doing something else, which
is very much the domain of mobile.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, it depends on the mobile game.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like the lion's share of the mobile market is distracted gameplay.
Yeah.
Well, they're meant between bus stops.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it works really well for just a really short gaming experience. You want to play 5 minutes of something while you're waiting for supper to cook. Sure, cool. And I was watching Lyndon's live stream the other day, and I was playing it on the side. I was listening to that, watching that, going back and forth, and that was really cool. That was fun.
The 2-screen experience.
Exactly. But would I spend an entire evening playing this game? I probably wouldn't, and I probably shouldn't.
I would probably arrive at a similar place on that one.
Yeah.
Played it for a little while until it said, okay, now run back and forth and do that 20 more times. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. And also, I mean, on mobile, it asks for microtransactions.
Yeah, and on PC it does too.
Really?
Oh, no, really?
It does.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, what flavor microtransactions? Because, it can be done well.
I think the highest one was $5 or $6.
Okay, well, are you paying for time, for currency?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's an
doable.
Accelerator.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. It's an accelerator.
Which is one of the least offensive types of microtransactions, I
absolutely.
think. But when
depends how the game's balanced.
Well, yes. If it takes you forever to make any money and $1 gives you, thousands of hours worth of earnings, I don't like that. I just don't.
At least in this game, you can make money as you're playing, and it doesn't feel like you need the microtransactions to get anywhere. But the fact that it's still there is kind of upsetting.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't... In my play so far, I'm about 5 hours in. I don't really need any extra microtransactions. I don't need the extra gold. I can just keep going. So it's a nice option to have, I guess. But I don't think it's necessarily a necessary one.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the implementation there is relatively inoffensive.
Yes.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But it's still a bit strange. I'm just not
Yeah.
used to it yet.
Yeah.
Nor is it free to play, though, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's one thing that makes me really curious because it was, I think I got it on sale for about $9 or something like that. I think it's usually 15. It's in that range, 10 to 15 bucks. You know, it's a decently priced game.
Well, that's your average indie title.
Yeah,
more or less.
exactly. So, you know, that should be fine, really. But you shouldn't need to pay for more. I don't know, whatever. The point is, you don't... The microtransactions don't get in the way, which is nice. But what would be even nicer is if they're not there at all. But whatever.
Yeah.
So there's that, and the other game that I started playing this weekend is King Arthur's Gold. And that game is ridiculous. I love that. Like you said before the podcast, it is really meant for a big group of people to get together and do big battles, capture the flag, base control, and what was the other one? There's some other...
Probably a death match or something.
Yeah, some form of death match.
But you need more hands to build up these fortresses and gather resources and all this. If you just play one versus one, which is all I've played, the world is too big and you just can't manage anything.
Yeah. The way I've seen it, and the reason why I bought it in the first...
I'm not particularly familiar with this game, so back up a bit.
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm getting to that. Okay. The reason why I bought the game in the first place was the fact that it looked like multiplayer deathmatch capture the flag Terraria with physics.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a 2D scroller where you were, like I said, trying to capture the flag, trying to have control over bases, that kind of thing. And you've got 3 different classes. You've got your miner builder, is that what it's
Something
called?
like that, yeah.
Knight and archer. So your knight is your melee guy, your archer, whatever. And then the builder is where you build up these massive fortresses. And you have, your flags hidden behind these fortresses, and you have defenses, spike traps, spinning blades, just all sorts of that kind of thing.
RTS or what?
No. Like Terraria. So
okay. So side on. Yeah.
You control a guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it gets interesting because you've got to build these fortresses with physics in mind, because they can throw boulders and smash down these buildings, and you lose all this progress, and it gets really interesting quickly.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of Cortex Command. I don't know if either of you played that.
I've never played it. I've heard of it, but I never
Okay, I think I got it a long time ago in Alpha in a Humble Bundle, and it reminded me a lot of like those really detailed drawings you do as a kid, and be like, here is the dungeon of death, and it would be like the spikes, and then you got to jump over this pit, and watch out for the swinging blades, and then there's a snake boss, and back and forth over the course of the pit.
You mean
the
a Zelda
page.
game?
Yeah. And it was just so detailed, and you could get so many different types of units and different guns and different base parts. It was really exciting, and it had its full release within the last year sometime, I think, and it was just too much to manage. Like, trying to do all of those things in real time wasn't manageable. Like, if it was a cooperative game and one person was building the base and the other person was running around shooting stuff, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work for me, and I think King Arthur's Gold handles that better.
It is, but you need several people working on building your base at once.
Yeah, that's just it.
Because the process of building actually takes quite a while. And the UI, for the most part, is fairly easy, but I get caught up trying to select what type of item I'm trying to build, be it a stone block, wood block, whatever. So, I mean, and it's still in beta, I believe. So it's still got a few kinks to work out, but it's pretty fun. albeit the servers are kind of empty.
Well, how have they been advertised? Just Steam Early Access, or has it been part of any bundles or anything?
Well,
It was on Indie Game Stand
Okay.
a little while ago. So, pay what you want there.
yeah, and that's actually, they're trying to be like a Steam model now, too.
Yeah, I see that, like a store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's actually where I bought it.
Oh, awesome.
Because that system looks really cool. They're essentially setting up so that they're still going to have the pay-as-you-want model for, I think it's a game of the week, and then they're going to have a store where you can either get street keys for it, or get Desert keys, or get Steam keys, and you get better deals. And it's also a better cut for the developers
Well,
as
Steam takes 30%. I'm guessing
Yeah.
this is less.
slightly only. It's 25, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Less is less.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a good game. I'm enjoying it so far. I might wait for a little while before I do anything serious with it, like a review, but we might do a trial run on it.
All right, that's always fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It sounds like the kind of thing we could get a couple people together for.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd certainly be in.
Excellent.
What about yourself?
I've got a little bit of a laundry list. Still a bunch of games we covered, I guess, 2 weeks ago. Sir, You Are Being Hunted. Playing that some more. They just released a new patch earlier this week that has a trombone.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
A trombone?
A trombone. You can just run around the English countryside being terribly out of tune.
I don't understand.
I believe it's meant as a lure. Basically, you can pull robots out of position and then, hide and then go get the
And
stuff
also,
you
of
need.
course, increasing immersion.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
Because
mean,
what sort of hunting robot wouldn't have a trombone?
Oh, absolutely.
a bugle, perhaps? I'm not sure about a trombone.
It was a colossal oversight in the initial release.
They seem to be, in their let's see what the hell works phase still. So there's also a little train set.
A train set?
Yeah, a little train set you can use to just put on the ground and distract robots. It's fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I really like these.
Oh yeah, no, it's increasingly becoming a wacky and very, very interesting game. I'm looking forward to that actually being done.
Well, to be fair, it's already a wacky and interesting game, but to throw that stuff in there, that's just awesomely ludicrous.
Robot hunting parties with monocles.
Yeah, of course.
So I won't go into too much more detail about that. We've already done it, and we'll cover it in greater detail once there's
trial run and
it's
all
out. A bunch of short little indie games. One Finger Death Punch.
What's that?
Silver Dollar Games. Basically, it is kind of an Adult Swim-esque. It's a Flash game. Do you remember like the early, what is it, late 90s Flash animations where basically it was stickman martial art films?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is basically an attempt to make a game out of that. And it does it fairly well. There's a free demo out right now. You can go find it on their website. And it's basically, it is a one-button fighting game. 2 buttons, technically. It's the mouse. Left click, right click. And you are basically the dude in the middle. Guys come at you from either side. And you click, basically there's zones on either side of you that upon entering, you click.
Yeah.
And then you beat the shit out of an enemy.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. I'll show it to you once we're done here. And it's not quite a rhythm game, but there's a really good rhythm to it.
Interesting.
And it's kind of the demo's actually not that bad. It's probably 45 minutes worth of gameplay.
Okay.
50 levels or something. There's a bunch of different
In a demo?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, each level is basically the majority of them are basically mob levels, they call them, where basically you have 50 or 60 or 70 enemies that you need to kill. There's different types of enemies. You got your basic, you click once, they're dead. You've got enemies that take 2 clicks.
Yeah.
You've got enemies that upon having clicked once, they actually flip over you onto the other side. You have to click on the other side.
Interesting.
And then there's shit like weapons you can pick up from the ground, which increase the bar zones, so you can actually hit people from farther out. There's ranged weapons. There's 2 unlockable skills out of, I think, 15 or something in the demo. Each one that references different weapon pickups you can get or passive abilities, shit like that.
Interesting.
There's also lightsaber levels, which are just basically silhouette levels, kind of Kill Bill style, where it's kind of monochrome, and then there's just you with a lightsaber and a bunch of guys running at you.
Nice.
It's really fun.
Oh, yeah, it really sounds like they've taken a very simple idea and explored it pretty thoroughly.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's not out yet. I don't know when it's out because I didn't bother to check. But again, free demo. I suggest everybody go check it out because it's really fun and it's like 200 meg download. On the other topic of really cool demos, Super Hot.
Oh,
Super
God.
Hot.
I love Super Hot.
You played it?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have.
Why
played
haven't
it.
we talked about it then?
I don't know. Because that game is amazing. Have you played Super
No,
Hot?
I've never heard of it.
Never heard of Super. Oh, okay. So Super Hot is a first-person shooter that was made out of a. Was it a game jam?
Yeah, 7 day.
No, 7-day FPS. Yeah, 7-day FPS where time moves extremely slowly unless you're moving.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of reverse bullet time. So instead of clicking in order to enter bullet time, bullet time is your default state.
yes.
Oh, curious.
So you can stop moving, assess the situation, look around. Okay, there's a bullet coming that way, and there's a bullet coming that way, and there's like a guy that's behind me that just spawned, and okay, I need to back up and move this way in order to get out of the way of those bullets, and I can fire and get this bullet in the air, which will just be leaving the barrel of the gun, and then a shift position, and it's a very strategic first-person shooter,
really
and it is amazing.
Is it single player?
Well, it's just a 15-minute demo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Unity web.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It plays in a web browser.
Yeah, and everyone should play it.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
extremely good.
Super Hot the game, I believe. It was also, I believe, the fastest greenlit game on Steam ever.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
it got greenlit
wow.
within like 24 hours.
Wow,
Yeah,
brilliant.
It is really that
That's
good.
really exciting.
The core concept just in itself makes it amazing.
Yeah.
But the underlying narrative that they put in there, and we won't go into that too much just because it's a little bit spoilerish.
It has the best wordplay I've seen in a game this year, probably.
Fun.
But it's just this. The mechanics work so well, and it's just you get into the game and you understand how things work immediately.
Well, they have the best one tutorial screen in the world.
Yep.
Basically, the very first thing once you boot up the game is there is a guy in front of you. Basically, it cuts in basically 3 seconds after it looked like you kicked him in the chest, so he's just flying backwards incredibly slowly.
Yep.
And then it just flashes up. Time moves when you move.
Yep.
So if you're not moving, he's just slowly falling backwards, and you take 2 steps back, and he just crumbles.
Crumbles into this pile of boxes, and the boxes
yeah.
go flying, and then you walk down the hallway and you see this guy, just standing, looking away from you, and it says,
Take his gun.
yeah, kill him, take his gun, then use his gun, and then with each gun you get something like 4 bullets.
I think it differs per level.
you
Some
sure?
are 3, some are. I've had 5. I think. I think
Okay.
it differs.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't matter. The point is, guns are totally, you don't need them. You grab them, you take a few shots. Disposable. That's the word I'm looking for. They are totally disposable.
But you do need them.
Yeah, well, I've seen a speedrun where you
There is a no shots fired,
no bullet time.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean the fact that that it's had speedrunners already and specific constraint speedrunners.
Yes.
I don't know how I missed this.
You really need to see it.
I'm gonna check it out.
It's the first thing you need to do when we get done this.
Okay.
Sure.
Because it's just so good. It is so good. What was I going to say? But yeah, with the guns being disposable, you take a few shots. Even if you miss, it doesn't matter. You throw the gun and you get back into it. And you can just go up to somebody, melee them, take their gun, and keep going.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the 3rd level. You know which one? The pillars?
That's the second from last.
Yes,
So
that
the
one
4th
is. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know which one,
Yeah.
and hopefully you do too. But you will know this one. That level is by far my favorite.
Yeah, it's not quite the lobby scene from the Matrix, but
But
pretty
it's close. It's close, and
Yeah.
it is so much fun.
Cool.
Again, this is just a demo so far. I'm not sure. I think they need to do more to it in order to make it a fully realized game.
Absolutely.
Even just the narrative they have in the demo, I'm not sure would stand up to,
full
60
game.
levels.
Yeah, they'll have to do some interesting work with it.
Well, there's a lot of places they could go with it, but they've got an amazing concept to start with.
An amazing concept. You need to play that game.
Yeah,
You-
everybody needs to play that game. I'm still moseying through Saints Row 4 slowly. I go back to it every couple days. I'm probably not going quite as quickly as I should, but there's just so much to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Ironclad Tactics finally came out.
I saw that. I haven't picked it up yet, but I will.
It's good. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. It has a 67 on Metacritic. I haven't read any of the reviews, but
Really?
that doesn't reflect my experience with it.
Yeah,
So I'm
because
kind of
you
curious.
Really liked it. You really liked it.
So actually, I won't spoil that too much because it's probably going to be my review next week. So
Okay.
look forward to that. But otherwise, my go-to game right now is Wind Waker HD.
You bastard.
Hey, you could have gotten in on this.
Hey, you didn't give me the chance.
I did. I totally offered you.
For 5 minutes and I just went and did it anyway.
It was 2 days. So yeah, no, this is what Nintendo does to me. I ignore them for years, and then they come out with a Zelda bundle for some system, and I buy it. That's why.
That controller is so beautiful. I want it.
And I never played the original.
Neither have I.
So
Well, not more than
now
5
is the
minutes.
time.
Now is the time for
Do
sure.
it.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to steal it
I'll lend it to you once I'm done. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, though. It's not a short game.
Oh, let's go ninja into your house and just take it.
I'm just going to point out one of us is always home and one of us is always armed.
That is also true. Yeah, as referenced by several of our videos. Yeah.
Anyway, it's amazing. It looks fantastic. It plays great. They have great integration with the gamepad. If you have a Wii U, why aren't you playing this? If you don't have a Wii U and you really like Zelda games, it's probably worth it.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
It's maybe worth it. I don't know. There's like 4 other games on the Wii U worth playing.
Well, there's Zombie U, which looks interesting.
Interesting if you're the kind of person that likes Dark Souls.
Yeah, exactly. Which is everyone.
That's
No,
me.
it's not.
Yes, it is. Dark
They
Souls.
just don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You don't like Dark Souls.
I've played Dark Souls enough to understand why people like it. I don't go out of my way to get frustrated by games.
I guess that's our differing point, because you played Gone Home. I still haven't yet, and I know everyone should, but I still haven't brought it because I don't want to experience the feels.
It's the good feels in that game, though. It's not the bad feels.
Is it? I thought it was. Anyway,
No,
it doesn't
no,
matter.
no.
It feels. There are feels.
There are feels. I
Yes.
mean, okay, it goes in some places that aren't always good feels.
I have a
but
feeling I'll
I mean,
cry.
Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. That one's less with the good feels, more with the
The feels. The feels.
yes, the curl up in a ball and cry feels.
Yeah. So, I love the Souls series. Now, Demon Souls I've probably played for just 25 hours or so. Not really a huge commitment. Dark Souls I put well over 80, and I played through it twice. That game is incredible. I absolutely love that game.
Well, yeah, I've played it through to completion and played a few alts, not all the way through. But it's not just the difficulty.
No.
It's that the world is so rich beyond what's explicitly presented.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, just the layout of things is very well thought out to make a world that's believable. If you're walking above this walkway, way up in the air, and you look down and you say, oh, hey, look, a little town. You can drop an item and it will end up in that town.
Yeah.
You'll go down and pick it up later.
Yeah.
And then the fact that so little story is made explicit, it's all in tiny snippets of dialogue and then mostly in the descriptions of items. So it's like, if you want to read into the world, it will reward you.
Absolutely.
And it's the same way with the combat and the weapon variation. And yeah, it's deep and at times inaccessible, just the way it's structured. But
And translated.
it did it for me. Yeah.
I guess there's
But
a
the
little
voice
bit of
acting is excellent.
Yeah.
Premiere.
Yeah.
That game is fantastic. The combat system alone is so well done.
As long as you can wrap your head around like animation, timing, and interrupts,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then get into iframes and all that nonsense, but it's all there.
Yeah, well,
if you
totally.
want it.
But I mean, the depth in that game it just keeps going and going and going. Like the immersion with that game is so it sucks you in.
Well, the biggest thing about that game that I realized is that it's best played when you're playing it in conjunction with somebody else. Not necessarily together, but as long as you know somebody who else is who's playing it at
Yes,
the same time.
so you can share the experience.
I played through the entirety of Demon's Souls, sitting at a console back and forth with a friend of mine, and that was an excellent experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing about the Souls series is the fact that it's pseudo online.
Yeah, the invasion
I like
mechanic.
that a lot.
Oh, me too. Because the invasion mechanic, it takes the game and it goes from a very difficult you against the environment, just survival fest, to there is someone out there hunting me
Hunting you.
right now, actively searching and trying to kill me.
You don't know how powerful he is.
Yeah,
you don't know anything about
You
him.
don't know their skill, you don't know their equipment, you just know they are coming after you and you have to do something about it right now. And it can be either a simple battle to something epic to something absolutely ridiculous. In Demon's Souls, there was a little break-off area on the first map where you would go down to a pit. and there would be a small stairway and then a ladder down very far. And I think there's a piece of armor or something down there. The point is, someone invaded me at that point, and I just like, okay, I'm totally screwed. I'm right near the entrance, so I have no time to think whatsoever. So I just kind of went around the corner and just kind of stood there and just put up my shield.
Choke point.
Yeah, because that's all you can do. And that's another thing. You have to think strategically because that matters. So anyway, the guy comes through the door, does a roll and attack, hits my shield, and falls down the pit. And I just laughed and laughed.
Yeah, I really liked in Dark Souls, you could be a member of the Sun Bros, right? I forget what they're called, but like the Cooperation Covenant. You can join this faction, and then you get special credit for helping other people beat bosses.
Yep.
And it's just so satisfying to go and, you know, somebody's like, okay, I'm having a lot of trouble with this boss. And nothing is explicit because you can't chat. But it's like, okay, that's communicated here. Yeah. And then you run up and you're like, yeah, I've done this 100 times. And you hack them to death. And then just before you evaporate from their world, you do the praise the sun gesture.
And yeah, that's another thing too. The communication, it's limited, but it's so good in its limited factor.
Yeah.
Just, you know, the stances doing the praise the sun or writing something on the ground. That hint system is amazing, and I don't think I could play the game without it, honestly.
Yeah. People. People can drop hints whatever they want, and they can be misleading or helpful.
Yeah,
it's like try jumping. You're like, okay.
Damn you!
And exactly, but the thing is too that there's a rating system. You can vote it down.
Yeah.
And it's just that game works so well on so many
it's so
levels.
Different. Like it tries a lot of weird things.
Yeah, it's
very Japanese.
Yeah, again, doesn't succeed in every way, but I think it's really worth getting into.
Absolutely.
I think it's worth trying, and it's out long enough that you can get it for fairly cheap if you look.
Yeah, it was on for $7.50 on Steam the other day.
Yeah. So,
and it's also been out long enough for them to have either them themselves or the community to have fixed the majority of the the resolution. And
Still,
stuff.
don't play it with a mouse and keyboard.
No, it's a controller game.
Not a good thing.
It is a controller game.
I picked it up on release because I was so stoked and started into it. I was like, oh no, because they don't even hide the mouse pointer. It's like, what?
Really?
Yeah, it's okay, all right. And so I don't have a 360 controller for my computer, but what I did have was a 13-year-old like Interact controller with dual analogs and enough buttons.
A serial port?
That's it had a converter.
Oh man!
So it's serial to USB, and managed to hack that together with what's the utility X360 CE. Really useful, and made it work. Played through Dark Souls with this suboptimal controller, but
yeah, you made it work.
It's got 4 buttons, 2 thumbsticks, and a couple triggers.
Yeah, that's what matters. And one thing about that series before we go is the fact that in the first game in Demon Souls, there was one boss fight that was actually somebody else online. Do you know about this?
No.
Yeah, the old monk.
Yeah. You went into a boss fight and you said you were being invaded, and it was like, oh, but I'm in a boss fight. That doesn't happen when you're in a boss fight.
Makes sense.
And it is the boss. The boss is some other player that is either trying to help someone or hurt someone online and just gets taken no matter what and put in this position.
And said, kill this player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, like on top of that, as a reward, if that person kills you, they get a special hat that like the big turban thing that they're wearing.
That's where you get that one.
Yeah,
it's absurd.
And then that's like a really special hat that you can't get anywhere else. Yeah, it's awesome. That game, I can talk about that game for hours. I love.
Let me talk about it one more thing.
Okay.
In Dark Souls, another covenant you can join are the Grave Lords, and it's too bad it isn't handled a little bit better because the potential is immense. Because if you're a Grave Lord, within a specific area, you can put down your like Grave Lording sign, and what that'll do is pick 3 random players who are playing in the same area and add additional super tough enemies to their areas. Right? So they're like, all right, I've played through this part 100 times, whatever. It's like, where did that come from? And it has more health and it hits harder.
Yeah.
And you can deal with it. But the only way to get these black phantoms out of your world is to find the corresponding symbol of where you are in your world, and then they port into your world. and if they kill you, they're uncursed, but you can kill them and they're still cursed, and there's no way to break the curse until you go offline. It's wonderful. And as a Gravelord, it's kind of sweet because all 3 of these players that you've infected could conceivably invade you at the same time. So you're like, bring it on! It's pretty rad.
It is extremely awesome.
I don't know. I apparently do not know nearly enough about that game.
Those are hidden in stupid ways, like to access these parts, and that's
the Gravelord thing.
Blow against.
I can't remember
sure.
what you had to do, but it was a series of steps.
It's not a blow against it so much as it is. There is a definite price to entry to that game, and that price is time.
Mm-hmm. Time and skill.
Well, and Wikipedia lookups.
Yeah, totally.
You need an online community to suss out all of the secrets of that game.
And I tried. I tried really hard not to go to Wikipedia, or their wiki,
the Dark Souls wiki.
Yeah, to beat it on my first run. It's difficult, man. It's really hard because everything is there, but once again, the descriptions are fairly good and give a lot of lore, which is really cool, but aren't necessarily useful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't need this item. This item doesn't matter at all.
Nothing in the game will tell you what poise means.
Yeah.
It's like, this armor has more poise.
That's cool.
Oh, neat. Good thing I graduated from charm school, I guess.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, so Dark Souls, pretty rad.
Yeah, pretty rad.
Pretty rad.
That being said, I don't have a good segue for this, but sir, you are not here purely to talk about Dark Souls.
Although I could gladly.
And apparently I could leave you two alone for the next half hour and you'd be happy as pigs in shit.
Yeah, you'd find us purring.
Yeah. Dark Souls. Oh, God, that game.
But
you make games.
Oh, yeah, I'm working at it.
I'm working at it.
I attempt to make
And
games.
more accurately, you are not working at anything else, really.
No, not really. January of 2012, I left my major employment. I'd been working for a number of years and said, I just don't really want to do this right now, and would like to apply all the thinking I do about games, because I play a lot of games, and every game I play, I think about a lot, and like in terms of design, playing board games too, and role-playing games, and like running around in the park playing Capture the Flag. I'm always thinking about like, okay, how is this balanced, and how can we, fiddle with it? So yeah, back last year, I thought, okay, let's get into this. Let's start thinking about making games, and had no experience with coding or programming, anything like that, and so used Code Academy online, really great website to learn JavaScript, and chose Unity as an engine to work in, which, boy, was that a good choice.
No kidding.
It's like Unity
past year has been good for you then.
Yeah, Unity is exploding. It's
Absolutely.
so great. And just the amount of questions that pass through their forums. So if ever I have a similar one, it's probably already been asked and answered. Mm-hmm. And the amount of plugins and tools that people devise and put out for free, like Chevy Ray Johnston recently made, I think, unitypatterns.com, where he just makes really sweet utilities and gives them to the Unity community.
Nice.
Yeah, he was talking about that on Twitter.
Rhymes. But so I've felt very supported in this, while still being an incredible code noob. It's really satisfying, because in coding, if something doesn't work, it's for a very good reason.
Yeah.
And
you might not know what that reason is, but it's there.
Yeah, but if you think through it long enough and deep enough, then you'll know that the mistake is your own. And so I've been fiddling with that a little bit, playing around there, and also working on a few different board game ideas I've been playing with. And it's a lot of fun to be applying myself towards games, even if it's not really getting anywhere yet.
You got to do your time, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. And I mean, learn to code effectively, learn to use Unity effectively, and then learn how to iterate and how to design and how to sculpt. Because like the most tiring part of the board game design that I'm doing is tuning it, right? It's like, okay, here's an idea, neat. How does it work? Yeah. Right? And then how does it balance? Yeah. And how does the flow work?
How will the players break it? Because God knows they're going to try.
Oh, yeah. And I'm fortunate enough to have a roommate who will break every game that he can break.
Andrew?
Oh, yes. Very, very truly. And it's nice, too, to flip-flop back and forth between board games and computer games, because if I have a board game idea, I can grab some cardstock, I can grab some markers, and I can whip it up. right?
Right.
Whereas computers, it's like I have to learn how to cut cardstock and I have to learn how to write again. And it's, I mean, a lot of the time it's like, I've got this great idea. And then I start thinking about programming it.
Yeah.
All right. You need to go find some trees. Need to cut them down. Need to figure out how to pulp them. Exactly.
And
in about 2 to 4 weeks, maybe I'll be able to make something.
Yeah. I will find out how to create a microprocessor, and then we can work on the game.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a fun but challenging process, and I've been kind of wrestling with kind of time management and saying like, okay, I'm going to work on this thing. I'm going to think about games every day for an amount of time because I can only code for so long before I start going buggy.
Yeah.
So I found the pattern for myself is to do technical work part of the day and do design work the other part of the day. And that's where it's really nice to split between board games and computer games.
Okay.
Because board games I can think a lot more just about design, and then computer games, once I get to a point, then I can start thinking more about design.
Right.
Once there's enough framework there. So it's it's a dream life, really. Other than the fact that I don't have any released product and it doesn't make me any money. But
Not yet.
no.
Join the club.
It is the first couple bricks on the road to happiness and glory.
And, self-employment.
Yeah.
Are you finding many parallels between board game and computer game development?
Oh yeah, tons. I mean, it's I forget who I was talking to, but they're saying that if you want to think about design, look to the world of board games, because if you look at European board games, there are so many novel mechanics and really interesting ways in which they force players to interact that there's been a lot of thinking there. And video games and digital games they can rely a lot more on the presentation, right? And just kind of the feel and not necessarily get into really complex mechanics. But when you start thinking about those things in conjunction, then you get these ridiculous ideas that are impossible to code. But hold a lot of interesting potential.
Right.
And I mean, it's the same space of saying, how can we interact in interesting ways, right? How can we explore systems of feedback and reward and challenge? And who was it? There's a paper called Mechanics, Dynamics, Aesthetics. Extra Credits did a special on it. And I really, really like that because it broke down why we play games into a number of categories. And some of them were for social bonding, cooperation. Some were the opposite of that, competition and dominance. Another category was fantasy and like world immersion, and another was challenge. And it really spread it out and said, oh, that is why I play games. And so I'd recommend checking out that paper for sure, because every game I play, I think, which of those buttons does this game hit, right? And why is that satisfying?
Yeah.
So I kind of hold that in my mind going forward, think about these things.
Can you link me that?
Yeah, for sure.
I totally want to see
We'll
that.
put it in the show notes.
Yeah. Because I really want to read that, because that sounds really awesome.
Yeah, I really liked it. I read through it and summed it up into little bullet points and then tacked it next to my computer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Can you give a specific example, maybe, of a conjunct or a parallel that you've maybe formed in your head between a specific board game and a specific?
Oh boy, that's a good question. Let's think. I got to think of a board game I really like.
Axes and Allies.
No, I do not like that board game.
Settlers of Catan?
I've never played it.
Seriously?
No, I've somehow avoided it because the guy who really got me into board games, a guy named Chris, moved away. He decried it like thoroughly.
Really?
He said like it is a simple chance-driven game that is determined in the initial placement.
I would agree to a point.
All right.
I agree to a point in the fact that it is chance-driven. There are die involved. But at the exact same time, it's the bartering system that makes it interesting, because you're saying,
It's
I
social.
need this, you need this, and there's the arguing, and then the yelling, and then the crying, and the shame.
And the fact that you don't speak to each other for a couple of weeks after each match.
Oh, totally. I got Andrew's parents into it, and they love it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Don especially. He's just totally
Oh,
into
neat.
it. But, I totally disagree with Chris's statements on
All right,
that.
all right.
Settlers is awesome.
Yeah, no, I just have since avoided it, right? Because Chris brought so many games to our house that we.
But that's the thing. You guys
Yeah.
have piles, like literally piles of games.
Uh-huh.
I've just got a mild cupboard full.
You've got a few.
Yeah, I've got like
you
three
got a
different
handsome
versions of
stack
Catan, so we can play that sometime.
To come back to your question,
Thank you.
There's a small print game called Antiquity that Chris got a copy of. Very, very rare, very hard to come by. He left it with us, and he said, "I know you guys take good care of my games, but take especially good care of this one." And it's really neat because you're building a city, right? And you have a little grid in which you're trying to fit your Tetris piece buildings into, and you're building out. But all of your development consumes the land somehow, right? If you cut down a forest, that forest will never regrow. It's like that wood is harvested, but then you can use the land for agriculture. But then after you use the land for agriculture, there's pollution on all of those agriculture tiles. So the game comes to a head and an ultimate end when the land is so swamped in your pollution that you have nowhere to pollute, and you start having to put gravestones in your town, like over top of your buildings.
Oh my god!
And just that sort of consequence, and also a little bit of social commentary, like that's something I've seen in a number of indie games where it's like, okay, you're doing this thing, and that's a good thing, good for you, and it's like, you should think more about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see that in a couple places, but what was the name of it? Shoot, I can't remember the name of this game, but initially it's a really simple platformer, and you're like, all right, jump on the guys, get the coins. And then it says, actually, no, you don't want to get the coins. You're like, oh, okay. So you go through it, you jump on the guys, you don't get the coins. And then it says, no, actually, you want to keep all those guys alive and not get any of the coins. Okay, fine. And then in your fourth iteration, it's like, oh, press Q to open the build menu. And you're like, what? It's a completely different game, right? And you're like, I made a lot of assumptions. I'm sorry.
Actually, if we're talking about assumptions, Frog Fractions, if either of you ever played that.
Man, Frog Fractions. I love Frog Fractions.
What's that?
Well, you apparently. I would love to hear your words on this. Actually,
okay. So, Frog Fractions. It has little to do with fractions.
Math in general, yeah.
Yeah, but you begin as a frog on a lily pad. Flies come down from the top of the screen and land on, I think they're durians. They land on fruit on the screen, right?
Yeah.
And you want to eat the flies before they consume your fruit.
Right.
Because if the fruit stays there long enough, it will ripen and then it will fall. If you catch it, it gets added to your currency. Good for you. So in between levels, you can spend your currency on upgrades, blah, 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 blah. So you do this. And you do this. And you're like, okay, why is everybody raving about Frog Fractions? This is a stupid game.
Yeah.
And then you realize that one of the upgrades you got, well, you didn't realize you could move up and down as well as left to right. And so you move down and you go under the water. And you're like, oh. And that is just the beginning.
Oh, jeez. You gotta leave it on a cliffhanger like that?
And you really
honestly,
ought to play it.
Just the realization that there's a third axis of movement in that game. Because a lot of people, I've shown this to a couple people, and they actually just go back and forth, upgrading and then basically selling the upgrade multiple times because they don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And then inevitably they just randomly, probably by accident, hit the down key.
Yeah.
And then they realize that all the fruit they never caught is down at the bottom, and that's,
And that is just the beginning, because then there are probably 7 genre shifts and like 7 completely
Massive
different games
acid trips
that it opens you up into.
I want to play this right now.
It's great. It's free. It's really worthwhile.
Again, put it in the show notes.
Yeah, definitely. I gotta try that.
Yeah. Funny, it reminds me of another game, board game actually, like Subverting Expectations. Initially, it sets you up. You're trying to fit as many people into various train cars as you can. You're setting it up. You're making an efficient run, and you feel good about it. And at the end of the game, the destination is revealed, and it's Auschwitz.
Oh my god.
Oh, come on. Really?
But still.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's funny because it's like, it's a game you can only play once.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that only works once.
Yeah. And also, it kind of bugs me a little bit.
Because you just feel terrible afterwards.
Well, it's also not... It doesn't do anything. It's there just for the shock.
It's just a shock.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think that's subverting expectations that's from the wrong direction.
That's simply subverting expectations for the sake of subverting expectations. It's not trying to say anything more.
It's trying to mess with your head.
I don't know what Frog Fractions is trying to say.
Okay, that's at least fun, and
Frog Fractions
bizarre
is fun and doesn't make you despair.
No.
The deaths of
Because that one is just
Or make you complicit in it.
Yeah. Unless you count the bugs.
They
do kill a lot
They
of
aren't
bugs.
people.
Okay.
Yeah, we hate bugs, man.
We hate people and bugs. Bugs hate us.
Whoops.
That's the show's mandate.
Yeah. But we hate bugs.
Review games, blow shit up, hate bugs.
Yeah, sounds about
Why
right.
wasn't that our tagline?
Keep it focused, right?
We should do that. Speaking of focus, where were we?
Subverted
All over
expectations,
the place.
bug.
We're talking about
board
links
games,
between board
yeah.
games and video games, and I just think thinking about systems is something that's
Yeah.
part of both of them.
Universally true across both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the additional barrier to entry into digital games, notwithstanding the technical aspect, is you have to think about input and interaction. Like in a board game, I can always pick things up and move them around, right?
Yeah.
And in a computer game, there's the additional question of, okay, am I clicking and picking things up and moving them around, or am I those things that I am then moving around? And it's a different dimension.
It's the perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of neat because some of the board games I really like have very immersive themes, like Agricola. It's a game about 17th century German farmers, right? And it's like, oh, thrilling. You get into it, and you make this little farm, and you've got your sheep over here, and your cows over here, and all these crops, and you've got this list of occupations that your family has taken up to make it through the hard times, and you're like, all right, I believe this.
Yeah.
And there's a lesson to be learned there in terms of like world building and experience building, and rather than saying, okay, I'm an avatar that shoots red balls that blow up green balls, it's like, no. I am the destroyer of worlds.
Yes.
And yeah, whatever.
And these green balls apparently are planets.
These are apparently worlds.
But yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Is there anything in particular you're working on right now?
Well,
that
actually,
you can talk about?
Yeah, sure, yeah. I'll talk about everything I've got. Again, no potential money to lose here.
Not giving anything away.
I was working on a prototype of a game I like to call Space Train.
I love Space
which is
Train.
kind of physics driven, and it's I'm intending it for mobile, but the basic concept is you are a space train, obviously, and there are astronauts on planets that need to go to other planets. So you drive your space train, and because of the way space is, you pick up the astronauts and then fling them into the void so that they float to their planet, right? And you're breaking off the train in the right places and sending them around. And anyways, that's on hold briefly because the people who make The Walking Dead announced a game jam just the other day.
Telltale?
In conjunction with, I think Skybound actually.
Okay.
Skybound in conjunction with Eurogamer, in conjunction with Unity, announced a game jam to, I guess, kick off the launch of The Walking Dead's new story arc, which is called All Out War, and so that's the theme of the game jam. And curiously enough, this game jam, you can't involve The Walking Dead at all. It's like, no, that is a no-go. And you can't use All Out War in the title of your game. It's kind of odd, but anyways, that has to be the theme, and you have to use Unity. And one of the things for the 10 selected games is a Unity Pro license, which would be pretty cool. And given that I'm already working in Unity, and it's nice to have constraint and specific inspiration, I've started pursuing that. And my biggest impetus in pursuing that is the boast system in the original Fable. I don't know if you remember that.
I never played it.
But in Fable, you run around, kind of action RPG. Whenever you got a quest, you could go to the town you got the quest from and stand on this little boasting pedestal. If you stood on the boasting pedestal, the townsfolk would come over and kind of cheer at you, and you could make a boast. And you could say, I'm going to do this quest without any armor. I'm going to do this quest in less than 2 minutes. I'm going to do this quest with only my fists, right? And you could stack up these boasts, and they came with commensurate gold and XP rewards.
Right.
And very early on in that game, some dumb quest, it was like, protect the chickens from the chicken thieves. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. No armor, with my fist, take no damage in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And I go to this chicken farm and get my ass handed to me. It was wonderful. It was like, I am a victim of my own hubris.
Right.
I am my own downfall. And so I want to play with that idea.
That's a
it's
good
like, because I really like challenging games, and whenever I have a game that I'm playing, I'll always put it on maximum difficulty, like right from the outset, and say, like, show me what you've got. I want to destroy your system, right? And at times it gets frustrating, like playing Dragon Age and playing Mass Effect 2 on the hardest difficulty. It was like,
Grind.
But I felt at the end of them like I had beaten them. I had perfected them, right?
Right.
And so I like the idea of tempting that of a player and saying like, all right, well, sure, you could just do it, or you could do it with these things. And guess what? If you do it with those things, you get a sweet gun. And then I want to play as well with consequence for failing, because it's like if you bit off more than you can chew,
It's not hit R to repeat.
oh no,
Try.
oh no. And again, I really like lasting consequence in games, and I mean permadeath is a really simple implementation of that, but
Yes.
it's pretty rad.
It is.
Like I've played so much Spelunky in the last couple of weeks.
It's been the year of the roguelike.
Yeah, it's a neat mechanic to explore, right? You can't take it back.
No.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes those games so rewarding, because when you get that far and you finally do win, it's an achievement because you've died like 700 times before and failed.
Yeah, well, if I may comment briefly on Spelunky.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Just before I came here, I was playing Spelunky with my roommate, and back in the old days, before Spelunky had a remake for Xbox.
Yeah, the
and now for
original
PC.
PC version.
Yeah, the freeware one. I played a ton of that. I played it through to completion, and then I played through all of the special objectives to unlock all the special doors, like the 8-minute speed run and the kill 200 guys and the collect 8 damsels and all of that stuff, right? Played it to death. It was great. Then I heard about this Xbox One and the fact that it had multiplayer, and I thought, oh, okay, that'd be different, whatever. Didn't have an Xbox. Kind of forgot about it. Then heard it was coming out for PC and said, oh, I could play Spelunky with my friends. That would be amazing. So picked that up, played the deathmatch, said, oh, this is sweet. There's new items. That's weird. Cool. And initially wrote off the co-op as frustrating, as like New Super Mario Brothers Wii. Like, you are in my way.
Check out our Let's
You are
Plays.
bringing nothing
Yeah.
to this except pain and misery.
Yeah, totally. But then me and my roommate Andrew started playing it 2-player fairly repeatedly, and now overwhelmingly have concluded that it's easier with 2 people. Because if you're only playing your own, 1 mistake will end your game. If you're playing with 2, you need 2 mistakes in quick succession. And that is a lot of flexibility. So yeah, just before we came here, we just made it to hell for the 4th time ever. We haven't beat it yet. But Alex is watching as where one of us is carrying the other who's holding the plasma rifle, right? Because if you're being carried when you fire the plasma rifle, there's no knockback.
Yeah, there's no recoil.
Right? So one person does the moving and the other person does the shooting, and we're both just like, okay, stop. Okay, now that guy. Okay, how are we gonna get him? Okay, I'm gonna hop off, and you throw a bomb, and it becomes very tactical and very paced, and boy, I like Spelunky.
It's so good.
I found that to be the opposite of the case when we were running with 4 players, because
Yeah.
that just becomes a frantic, oh my god, who's off the screen? Oh my god, no, come back, oh god.
Now,
Oh god, I fell on the spikes again. Oh god, now you fell on the spikes again. Now
have you
everyone fell on
tried
the spikes.
picking up everybody in a chain?
No, we haven't.
I mean, that invalidates the 2 middle players. They can do nothing, but
That'd be hilarious. We gotta try that.
Yeah, just grab some shotguns and go.
Yeah, absolutely.
well, you can only carry one. The guy on the end can
Yeah.
hold the shotgun. Everybody else is
totem.
a strange caterpillar.
Oh man. Well, I went for my first run through, like, just absolutely destroying everything I came across, including shopkeepers, and going through the black market full, and just
You
and
robbed
make
the
it-
black market.
and make it.
Oh, that's the only way we do it now.
Yeah.
Because if you're lucky, the black market will give you like 60 bombs.
Oh yeah,
Everything you need, right?
and a whole ton of ropes, and pretty much everything you need to take care of everything.
And of course, the Ankh.
yes, which
You
is
need
critical.
the Ankh. Yeah.
Which, oh man, okay, so in the last playthrough, or rather that playthrough, I got the Ankh, and then I was right about to the level where the door was. And just as I was getting to the exit, there was a shopkeeper, and he nailed me. And I was just like, I was just so pissed. And, like, I made it so far without anyone trying to kill me, and, like, just leveling everything along my way. Like, just super tank. And it was just like one stray bit of shot.
Yeah, well, we've worked out our patterns of saying, okay, one player takes stickies, the other doesn't, so that we can drop bombs down, or we can stick bombs, and it's very, very carefully negotiated, and it's a lot of fun to be that involved with another player in your
Yeah.
success.
Yeah.
It's very, very positive cooperative experience.
Absolutely.
Well, increasingly, the games I've most enjoyed watching or most excited about are all pretty much couch co-op games.
Yeah.
Samurai Gun, Towerfall, Spelunky.
Now, have you played Monaco?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
We did a video on it.
Yeah,
stuff.
and
Yeah,
we
of
have a
course
Let's
we
Play
have.
coming on it. I just
Yeah.
And
haven't
again,
gotten to it.
that was a case where I think it's probably best with 2 players and not 4.
Yeah, because 4 was just chaos.
Yeah, it's one guy screws up and then everybody just runs around with chicken.
Well, it was kind of funny because I played it with 2 of my fairly experienced gamer friends, and then rotationally a 4th person who just didn't ever really play games, and that was super fun because it's like okay, we're gonna save you, and then they'd be like do wandering off. I'm like no. Okay, we're gonna come save you. And then there were those beautiful moments where all 3 of us had died, and we're like very carefully coaching them. And it's like, okay, you need to save us. You need to watch out for that. No. Okay. And then they would save the day, and it was wonderful.
Honestly, the sound design, just the squishy sound design when you're rezzing somebody.
Oh, it's so strange. Yeah, like
Fantastic.
Yeah, Tom Francis and Mika Harper from League of Legends fame are currently doing basically a let's play of that just for fun. And I think the title of the series was Monaco, and I don't know. It referenced necromancers. It was a really good line. I can't remember it because basically the guards res other guards, you res each other, and it's
right.
Anyway,
well, I always heard it as a sucking sound, and it was really strange.
It's
viscous.
Yes, very viscous and offsetting.
yeah.
But that game is just ridiculous with 4 people.
Yeah,
And
local co-op,
Yeah.
I really think that's where it's at. Because
Absolutely.
not only do you have the game to relate over, right, but you're sharing the ups and downs in person, and it's so much more. I don't know, it's richer, right? Rather than like over voice chat, you're like, yay!
Yeah, and that's really what was missing from the previous generation, because everything went from local multiplayer to online.
well, last generation was basically the start of the capacity to do large scale multiplayer online.
Yeah, and which is great. That's awesome.
The internet
Yeah.
got to the point where we could actually sustain that.
Yes, but there was something missing, and
I mean, the fondest memories of my gaming as a kid were probably local co-op GoldenEye.
absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely that, like exactly that local co-op multiplayer GoldenEye. Like that game was amazing. Not now, but back then it was amazing.
Well, I don't know how you play FPSs with only single thumbstick these days.
And C buttons,
C buttons.
Oh man.
but
I was good with those C buttons, though.
oh yeah, me too. But I mean, like just the ability to have a group of people in a room and to share that experience together.
Well, and not even necessarily local co-op, but just local multiplayer,
Yeah.
like Towerfall.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Have you played Towerfall?
At Noodle Cake had.
Yeah.
Oh,
an event
right.
in
Yeah,
town.
A couple
Yeah.
weeks ago
I
now.
played a little bit of it.
Oh, that
Funny
was,
though,
that was like months ago.
like
actually, no?
the input lag
Yeah.
was obscene because obviously they're in a pretty tech-rich environment, and
Yeah.
there's so many conflicting signals
Yeah.
that there was between a half and 2 second delay on the controller.
That is a
Yeah.
game that does not work well with the
nope.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful all
Actually,
the same.
the best way to play it at Noodle Cake was to hold the controller back here so that it was closer to the Ouya.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and playing it on a giant projector, that just made it fantastic. I absolutely love playing it, particularly right there at Noodle Cake, because that game is amazing.
One more comment on local games. I don't know if either of you caught notice of. It was a collaboration between Damien Summer and the artist Emily Carroll. They made a game called The Yogg.
Heard of it?
It's like a story game where on the turns you're choosing where you're going to spend the week, and you choose the tavern, and you can choose either to bartend or to drink, and then it will give you a little narration of something, and then up some point by an amount and up another point or down another point, right? It'll be like you gain 2 charm, you lose 1 strength, right? It's pertinent to the story. And so you're doing this with the other players, and there's some events that echo forward, and it's like, oh no, the rats again, I shouldn't have unleashed them. And then it ultimately culminates in kind of like a test of your abilities against this threat, the Yogg. And it's very, what do I want to say? It's kind of quaint and provincial and a little bit like a simpler time in its presentation. The art is just lovely. The music is great. And the first time I played it, I opened the README first, and it gave specific instructions about how this was to be played after dark with lit candles. It's like, okay, I'm doing it. Let's do it.
Right on.
So sat there with my partner, and we lit the candles and we played it, and it was like so intense. We read everything aloud, and it was great. And it wouldn't be the same if I was playing it on my own or if I was playing it with somebody over the internet. It's like, oh wow, you sure got that. Like it was much better to be made close and intimate, and that's a good space to explore, I think.
Yeah.
I'm glad that more are doing that.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, I was fearing that was on its way out.
Yeah.
It was for a time.
It was.
Yeah.
And that was, the replacement of playing online was good, but there was just something missing.
Mm-hmm.
That equality of sitting there and having fun with friends and being able to share with friends immediately with you, right beside you, and just be like, did you see that? That was incredible.
Of course I saw that. That was me.
That was my corpse that you flung across the screen. But yes.
You jerk.
Yeah, I know. It had to happen. I had to take out that
You
guy.
had to fling my corpse.
Yeah. It worked, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
Well, with that, shall we end this?
Sure.
On that happy note. All right.
Camaraderie.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. It was a
thanks
pleasure
for having me.
you.
I just talked in all
I'd
manner
love
of
to have
direction.
you back, actually. You were one of the more, erudite speakers we've had.
No, this is a lot of fun. I certainly do like thinking about games, and it reminds me how I have to keep working.
Honestly, we need to get you on together with Maya. I think you two would have a wonderful chat.
Cool,
Yeah,
yeah.
without a doubt.
So before we sign off, where can people find us?
I am ADP_Thompson on Twitter.
You are
Berv_ on Twitter.
BERV.
BERV.
Yeah,
and then
It
underscore.
originally came from a misspelling of Burke because I'd written it on a name tag, and so it was like, Berv, what's Berv? And then I thought of him as just like a really gross, shitty version of myself. So that's the one that makes games.
I love it.
Fair enough. Do you have a website or anything you can pin?
Berv.ca. It's in process.
It's there.
Oh, speaking of websites in process, yeah, we got stories to tell about that.
Yeah.
And of course, you can find me at Tycho2501. I really need to change that one of these days. Probably. I don't know. It's been my handle for too damn long. I'm too attached to it.
You're actually going to change it.
I'm thinking about it.
Excellent.
There's connotations I'm no longer particularly fond of.
I understand.
Yeah.
We've talked about
A
that.
few times. And of course, you can find all our crap at adp.co for now. Again, we're looking to get that changed.
In time.
In time. All right. Well, thanks again. This has been Face to Face Gaming number 7
Yes.
for the September the 29th. We're recording
Sure.
this.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Right
Okay.
on.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys.